All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. We're excited to be here with you. It is post-Thanksgiving here and everywhere, I guess, at least in the Americas or anywhere who does celebrate Thanksgiving. So we're getting into the holiday season. And so I think as most folks know, we generally start with an icebreaker question here. And so with the season of gift giving approaching, I thought I would ask Kim if she prefers to give presents or receive presents.
Oh no, this is going to feel like a bad answer, but I'm a very notoriously bad gift giver. I am not good at it. I think it's a result of my mom being not a very good gift giver. She's very practical. She's like, oh, you need sponges? Here are sponges. So I've inherited, it's a gene, I'm not very good at gift giving, but I also am also very hard to surprise. So I might not be good at receiving gifts either. I have already ruined 2 Christmas presents that I know my boyfriend is getting me. To be fair, he left receipts and I was cleaning up.
That's on him then.
That's what I said. I took a photo for evidence.
Yeah, for those familiar with the love languages, gift giving, I think, is like at the bottom of my both give and like how to give and receive. But it is that time of year. If I were to pick one, I guess I would rather give. But yeah, not the biggest present person either. So I think we have that in common. Well, welcome everyone to Workshop Wednesday. We're excited to be here. We're talking today a little bit about CRM best practices, particularly when it comes to custom fields. And so with that, it's not the sexiest topic, but it's important because getting the right data in is key to, getting the right data in is helpful to getting the insights and actionable information that you can use to help make sure your sales team is empowered and doing the things you want them to in the field. So we'll be covering today some things in terms of how to best set them up in Map My Customers, and then also sharing some examples from our customers on how they have set up their Map My Customers instance and other integrated CRMs as well to better capture data so that you can, better get insights, understand, help your team target the right top tier accounts, see prospects at the right time, and or get better insights on how their interactions are going in the field. Did they meet with the decision maker? Are they dropping off samples, things like that? So we're excited to share some examples with you. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Kim to drive again today. So Kim is our awesome training and onboarding specialist, and she'll walk you through everything.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. So yeah, like Justin said, maybe not the most exciting topic, but definitely really important as an end user and as a manager, administrator that's looking to get reporting, looking to see information in these fields. The first thing I want to start with is just very high level, the different field types that we support in Map My Customers and where you might see those different field types in the system. The field types live within the settings, and there had been some changes within some of the new releases. There is a slight change in the layouts that came out actually last week. So I will touch on that towards the end. But going into this manage fields section, which was previously called custom fields, this is where you will see your different fields and the different types of fields that exist. So I've created a couple examples here to walk through some best practices today. So you'll see here, I have one like account type. One is a drop-down option and one is a text. I've got a few others that I've created in here for the sake of example. But really, I want to highlight that when you are creating new fields, whether it is in your main CRM, if you are a Zoho or a Dynamics or a HubSpot or Salesforce user, or within Map My Customers, we are going to mirror those within the 2 CRMs. And general best practice is going to be avoiding and staying away from your free text options as much as possible. One of the main reasons is that a free text field is open to anybody to do anything. You've got typos, you've got just different abbreviations. Someone might write active, somebody else might write live, and those mean the same thing in their brain. If you have a drop-down option, you're creating a finite list of what people can choose from. And therefore, when you're reporting, you know that nobody misspelled or wrote closed, not closed / out of business. You're able to filter through your data and focus in on what's most important to you. Similarly, there is also the same kind of option that you might run across with sales numbers or volumes. If you elect to use a monetary or numeric value, you're going to increase the ability in different ways that you can filter down on this. So I do want to focus in on some of the filters and again, why you might elect to use a single dropdown, a multi-select dropdown over a text field in certain scenarios. So I'm going to demonstrate that within the company's records here. I'm going to select certain columns. I'm going to use my account type, the text or the dropdown, or my year-to-date sales, also the text and the dropdown. And we'll take a look at kind of what we have going on here and the different ways that filtering gets impacted based on the type of fields that you've created. Here in my account type field, you'll see that in the finite option, I'm always going to have consistency. Whereas in this text field, I might have somebody who's misspelled a record or has just put in information that differs from the options that we'd want them to select. When I come over into the filtering experience, you'll notice that the text fields filter different than your dropdowns. An account type, I'm able to select from a finite list, whereas a text field, I have to go in and essentially search the value that I'm looking for. If I go in here and search for active spelled correctly, it's going to remove those typos and I'm going to have a hard time focusing in on the information that's accurate and relevant for what I'm looking for. Similarly, on our monetary or numeric fields, when you have something that is monetary, we know that it's a number value. You are able to filter through things like greater than, in between a range, greater than or equal to. And you're able to filter through using this as a monetary. So if I want everything that is greater than $5,000, I am now seeing everything that is greater than $5,000 here. Using a text field in this same scenario only allows me to look or search for a string of text. So does it contain or equals to or starts with, making the experience a lot more difficult. So just generally speaking, and very high level, you want to make sure when you are creating your fields, you're adding new custom fields, you are leaning towards driving in and honing in on the specific type of data you're looking to capture. There may be scenarios where a free text is just necessary. Maybe it is the role or the title of somebody, and there's just an endless number of roles there, so you can't bring it to a finite list. But if you are looking to report or use that information to focus in on or create a color key, you need to use one of these 4 options here. Any thoughts or anything to add, Justin, from your side on just general field setup there?
No, well, I guess one thing. So with that, again, as Kim mentioned, if you use another CRM, Salesforce, Zoho, HubSpot, et cetera, we'll pull in the type that you have selected there. So if you use another CRM and integrate with Map My Customers, you would want to set up your fields as a drop-down, a monetary field as opposed to text. If you're using just Map My Customers as your CRM of record, then you can set them up here. But there are a lot of advantages, as Kim shared, obviously with the filtering, and then the key is the map colorization too, to be able to see that with text, because it can be anything. We can't see, we can't color a map based off of free text. It has to be either a monetary field, numeric field, or these single option and multi options.
Awesome. Just to talk through a few examples of fields that we've seen people use, kind of best practices of fields you might create within your system. Obviously, we will ignore some of my text fields that are not so great, but different fields that we see and recommend people utilizing include things like your industry. If it is helpful to know or understand that somebody is in one industry versus the other, it impacts how you're going to talk to them, products you're going to present, then having a field, a drop down, or Again, if free text because you work with an infinite number of industries is beneficial, then you will create a field like this. Again, anything with those drop-down options like this can be color coded. So if automotive is blue, food and bev is green, maybe herbology should have been green, but you can go in and add colors based on this if it's important and helpful to visualize the map this way. Additionally, you'll be able to use any of the fields that you've created. A few sessions back, Justin talked about advanced reporting. We also have our standard reporting, but if it's helpful to get understanding around what kind of industries we're seeing more success in, where should we target, what is a better, more profitable industry for us, capturing that information therefore helps you in the future as you're looking to focus and maybe pinpoint down into kind of your target market. Something else we see people do a lot is a status. So if that is, hold or live or active or closed, the indication of closed accounts or the stage that account is in is often extremely helpful for your team, especially as they're out in the field. Businesses change, they moved, and very often teams get frustrated if they're spinning their wheels going to accounts that they know are closed or out of business. So having a way for your team to indicate that information is very helpful for them. If we are coloring by some sort of account type, maybe that one is blaring red. Maybe it's gray, so it kind of blends into the background. But your team then has the ability to flag and avoid any accounts that are just not a good use of their time. Maybe they're not even closed. Maybe they're just a bad fit. So giving your team the option to flag information this way is very beneficial to make sure they're not driving 10, 20 miles out of their way to an account that no longer exists. Other pieces of information that we see people capture on the account or the company is sales information. The sales information is very important to understand. How is this account doing? Have they purchased with us before? Very often, people will have the sales information even by product, by last year to date, by this year to date. And something new that we've recently introduced in the latest release is something called calculated fields. It is not something that you're actually able to set up on the front end yourself, but if you have a field that you are looking to see year over year change, you would like us to make that calculation of last year's sales subtracted by this year's sales, or a percentage value, or some kind of aggregation of this product A plus product B plus product C to get the value of the total sales year to date. We now have the ability to natively do these aggregations, calculations within the Map My Customer system. So if you do have any calculations you would like to do with your sales values, please let us know, let the support team know, or let your account manager know, and we are happy to talk through possibilities or different ways that you might want to create, again, what we're calling a calculated field. The last few that I want to mention are just things like the revenue tier, the products that they've purchased. These are, again, just different fields that we've seen people successfully use, adding onto their accounts to make sure their team is capturing or targeting specific information. From a contact perspective or a people perspective, more often than not, we see people add in personal information like the role or the cell phone number. These are just data values about a person that you might look to capture. So if they've got a business phone number, but you'd also like to capture their cell phone, or it's important to know their title or role within the business. And we'll talk about how you can put these front and center and pin these within the relationships portion. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm going to skip over deals very quickly. Deals, the most common one that people put in there is the product that you're looking to sell within the deal. But if you have certain deals, if you're utilizing the deals, do let us know again, and we can help you brainstorm any different fields that might be helpful to capture here. The last one we see, and I'd say we've seen more traction in more recently, is the activities custom fields. Some good examples of information people like to capture during an activity is did you meet with the decision maker? You might have somebody who is hitting their KPI. They are getting 15 stops a day, but then you dive into the information and they never get past the gatekeeper. They're constantly getting stopped by the receptionist. So yes, they're making all of these stops, but they're really not actually getting the business moving forward. They're not having productive conversations. So something that people like to put in to capture here is, did you meet with the decision maker? This can be a yes, no drop down that easily just gets filled with one click of a button to say, yes, I got to the right person, or no, I did not. Now, when we're looking at metrics, maybe, yes, you did 50 stops and you're doing the legwork there, but only 10 of your stops you met with the decision maker. From a coaching or managerial perspective, how can I step in and help them get around those receptionists, or make sure that they're getting face-to-face with the right people who are going to purchase and move the conversation forward? Additionally, something we've seen is products dropped. So if there is any metrics or information you want to capture, did you drop samples? Did you leave a swag? This can also be done within the activity itself. It's not something you want to capture on the company level. It's not super important to know that I dropped product A one singular time. I'd likely want to know, am I constantly giving them samples and they're never buying anything? Is that really a good use of my money to continue to provide and give samples to this account that really is just not converting? The last thing I want to highlight that we've seen some companies do is expense tracking. If you have lunches, if you drop off cookies or baked goods, and you want to be able to know what is the return on investment of that account, first, you need to capture how much you're spending. So oftentimes people will create a field such as lunch expenses. Every time I go to fill out a lunch activity, maybe front and center, that lunch expenses shows up, and it's required that I fill this out. I'm going to move to pinned fields next, and we'll come back to the forms and fields to talk about some of the changes that happened most recently. But anything, Justin, to add on your side about best practices, fields we recommend?
I'll just pick out some of my favorites that Kim mentioned. So I would say on people, oftentimes I actually like when companies have two types of fields to capture the role of a person. So one is the actual title. So that's actually someone's title, VP of marketing, head of sales, or whatever that might be. But then also, and that's typically a text field. And again, as we talked about text, those have some limitations. But in this case, you really want to capture what the person's actual title is. But then sometimes if you need to go further, if you are the type of business that you sell to multiple contacts, you're working with multiple contacts in an organization, you can then have a role drop-down field on your people, whether it's the business owner, whether it's, decision maker, or some kind of admin assistant or something like that. And so that gives you a little bit more granularity to refine your contacts on top of the title. And so sometimes you can have, multiple fields there because they serve different purposes. So you'll have the title to get someone's actual name, but then the role there allows you to then categorize and understand your contacts better. And then one other thing I would say, as Kim mentioned, is the concept of some sort of revenue tier or tiering customers, particularly for businesses that do a lot of repeat sales. I think that's really key. You could just feed in the year-to-date sales data, and then you'll be able to use some of the filters greater than or less than. But tiers, I think, are very helpful way, for your sales team to be able to effectively target and make sure they're seeing their top accounts. So, for example, for your tier A customers, you can set up a cadence to be able to see them on every 30 days, 60, 90 days, whatever is the appropriate interval for you. And we can actually automate some of that stuff. So if you have it all set up in your CRM or in Map My Customers, if Map My Customers is your CRM, we could set it up so that every sales rep gets a group with their tier A customers assigned automatically that they need to visit them every X days. So that's very, very powerful, and just making sure people see the right accounts at the right time.
Awesome. And yeah, again, with just talking back, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Say with the colorization, tier is definitely one that we see people do a lot, because if you are out in the field, somebody cancels, it's really important to know that I should see a red tier A versus an orange tier B, or a red tier A versus a blue tier E. If you have that colorization, it's really quick to pick up and know which direction makes the most sense to go. So I'd say this is also very commonly the color key that people use.
Yeah. And the one thing I was going to say is, these are some best practices we've seen from my customers' teams. If anyone in the webinar today has examples that you share, would love to go ahead and put that in the chat of any fields that you use that really is helpful for segmenting and understanding your customer and prospect base in your CRM. We'd love to see that.
Awesome. The one thing I want to highlight once you have these fields created is creating that level of priority on these accounts. Let me zoom out here, but you are able to pin fields that are most important. This is something that came out probably earlier this year, maybe 6 to 8 months back, but it is something that kind of has had a slow trickle into people's environment. So just always something good to reiterate and talk about once again. The pin fields are a little bit tucked away in where you set them up, and the administrator is who will set these up. But within the open list view here, you're able to determine which information shows up first, or when I click directly on a pin on the map, what I am going to see in this preview pop-up. Additionally, from the mobile app, these have a one-click edit to them. I could click right into tier or right into account type and fill out that relevant information. The pin fields are set at the object level, so company, people, or deals, and are set here in this little menu ellipses on the map list view. Again, a little bit tucked away in the kind of setup of where they are. But when I open up the list view here, view menu, I am able to pin fields either for myself as a team member, for my whole team as a team manager, or across the entire organization as a team admin. So if I, as an admin, know I want everyone to have tier and account versus lead pinned, I can determine that here. If I would like to change or remove these, all I need to do is select the field that I would like pinned. Maybe for me, that is account type. Drag this to the permissions. So is this visible to everyone? Is this visible to a certain team? Is this visible to just myself? As a team member, you can always add anything else that you would personally like in there. If every time you go into an account, it's very important that you're capturing the products or that they have on display, or that you're updating this account type field. Again, having this pinned makes it a lot easier to edit that specific field on the mobile application. You'll see once that change is made, I will see that information pinned right here for myself. Similarly, you can pin on all of the other objects. So under the relationships, when I look at my people, if I would like to see a certain field, a certain piece of information, probably not a good guy because he has no name, but certain pieces of information pinned on my people, you are also able to do so from that same location, viewing that menu, pinning fields, and selecting what is pinned. So if you are on the company record looking into your relationships tab, you will see that piece of information without needing to click in or open up that record. This was definitely something that was asked for a long while. People were very frustrated with having to click onto the person to go into the details to see the title, when it would be very easy if within your relationship section, you are able to see that title. So again, that is called pin fields and is accessible on the map. There are knowledge base articles and videos on how to set those up for yourself or for your entire team. Awesome. And then just comment from Caleb. So if you are not somebody with things that are pinned, pin field is a major game changer. Thank you. Feature request. And just so in case anyone else is thinking it, we would benefit from the ability to have different sets of fields for different types of companies. Example would use one set for a independent repair shop and another set for fleet. So really good product feedback there. I've actually heard that once before as well. For maybe I want different pinned fields for active versus inactive. So definitely a good thought there. And we will make a note of that to kind of relay to the product team. So awesome. Thanks, Caleb. Awesome. Again, really helpful when you're editing information on mobile. So if there is something that you are constantly going to details, to edit, to scroll, to fill out, consider pinning one of those fields. The last thing I want to highlight is a slight change. I'm going to bring us back into that similar area of forms and fields we were in before. I do want to highlight the layouts, again, is a new concept. It came out probably early October, but there was in the latest release a couple of changes. First and foremost, the layout that you create here will now reflect in the company record view, meaning when I click on an individual record, what I have created in the layout is now going to display here as well. Previously, the display was only for when I was creating new records. Now you are able to go in, rearrange these within the layout, and it will reflect in the web company and mobile company record view details portion. So you do have the autonomy. Sometimes people try things when first releases go out and they say, oh, can't do it, and they don't try it again. So just as a note, these will reflect the layouts that you've created at this point. So as I scroll through, using and looking at the different layouts, new layout, it's going to have the same form, the same fields as what I have in my layouts now. The other thing that came out recently is the concept of deal variants. For my people that use deals, what this will now allow you to do is set requirements based on deal stages, similar to the variance on activities. So every time I log a lunch, I need to fill out lunch expense. The deal variant will allow that level of granularity as well. If once a deal hits the closed won stage, I need to make sure my team is absolutely at that point filling out the amount. They know they've won the deal. So when they have closed it, I need the amount filled. I'm now able to set that requirement. I'm able to set conditional logic based on the stage that the deal is in. So if you have certain information that maybe it's not captured during the prospecting stage or the qualifying stage, but once it hits quantifying, you need that information filled out. Deal variants are going to let you put in that conditional requirement. This came out again with the release that went out last week. Also with the release last week, if you are not personally on app version 5.8.1 Cassini, you do want to make sure yourself and all your team members are on that version. They should have seen a pop-up, should have seen requirements, but just as a note, if you're not on that version, you do want to make sure you are updated. And then from the web version, you can take advantage of these new deal variants, the edit layouts, mirroring the create layouts, and also all of the other things that have come out in the most recent releases, calculated fields as well. Anything to add there, Justin, for pinning or for the layouts?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, that was everything I was looking to cover. So any questions, thoughts, anything from anyone here today?
Just to give some thoughts, obviously we've been talking about getting these fields set up, and this is kind of the nuts and bolts of the setting up your CRM. So ultimately, what does this help you do? So one thing here is ease of use for your sales reps. That's one of the things we really focus on, is making things as easy as possible for your field sales teams to actually use your CRM. So getting the right fields in there that drive value for them to help them understand the health and more important information about the accounts, their revenue tier, industry, et cetera. And then additionally, the other key thing besides ease of use is the data back to you. And then you can understand and see how many activities did we record against our tier A accounts? How many times did a rep meet with the decision maker? Setting up your CRM is the key for this to get your data and insights back. So if, a lot of companies have this set up already, but, there's always a chance to opportunity to tweak things and make things a little bit better. If you have questions and you'd like to talk through this more, please reach out to our customer success team. We'd be happy to assist you with these things. And then obviously, help make updates in your Map My Customers account too. So we hope this has been beneficial. And if you have other thoughts or ideas on things that you find effective, would love to hear those too. But otherwise, we appreciate you spending some time with us today. And we'll stay on for a quick minute for any questions. But thanks again for joining for Workshop Wednesday, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you.